Hola, buenos días a todos. Ya estamos por comenzar este webinar número 86 de nuestro seminario. Mi nombre es Andrea Castellanos. Algunos de ustedes me conocen, otros no. Y el día de hoy voy a tener yo el honor de presentar a nuestra invitada. Su nombre es Renee White. Pero antes de eso, bueno, primero que nada quiero felicitarlos a todos por haberse animado y estar cada día en este webinar, que yo sé que no es pues sencillo todos los días dedicarle 1 hora y media, pero sí me parece también muy importante que hayan decidido como romper todos estos esquemas que tenemos, paradigmas y creencias como la cultura mexicana que somos, y que ahora pues tenemos que romperlos, ¿no? Para llevar nuestra empresa o nuestro negocio fuera de nuestra frontera y a otro país. Que no es fácil, pero que si poco a poco lo hacemos y vamos de la mano de los expertos que han conocido en cada uno de estos seminarios, pues creo que será mucho más fácil. Y bueno, me gustaría platicarles un poquito acerca de nuestra invitada de hoy. Como les comenté, su nombre es Renee White. Ella actualmente radica en California. Y yo la conocí por una historia un poco chistosa. Bueno, como ustedes saben, Francisco Castellanos es mi papá. Y él sí sabe inglés, pero en ocasiones le falla un poquito como el entender exactamente qué es lo que le están diciendo. Entonces, en esta situación, cuando estaba hablando con René, él creyó que ella le estaba diciendo que fuera a Estados Unidos porque ella ha sido un pilar en nuestra empresa. Ella nos ha capacitado, nos ha enseñado diversos temas de migración y bueno, René entendió que queríamos que viniera. Entonces, entre esa conversación, René terminó viniendo a México, así fue como yo la conocí y ella nos estaba capacitando acerca de temas de migración. De hecho, nosotros le ofrecimos a ella darle como, estarla llevando a restaurantes y así como para que conociera el lugar, y al principio ella decía, no, pues yo mejor sola, hasta que desafortunadamente cuando casi acaba de llegar, pues la asaltaron y entonces fue así como ella ya decidió que sí prefería estar con nosotros. Y bueno, la verdad es que la pasamos muy bien, tiene una personalidad muy bonita, es muy firme, pero también es muy linda. Me tocó convivir con ella pues todos los días que estuvo aquí y pues puedo decirles que es una persona maravillosa. Y bueno, sin más preámbulo, me gustaría presentar a Renee White, que el día de hoy está aquí con nosotros. Ella les va a hablar acerca de la ley de migración y cómo puede cambiar todo con esta nueva administración, ya que, pues como saben algunos de ustedes, parece que el presidente ya electo es Biden y no Trump. Entonces ella nos va a hablar acerca de esta ley de migración y posteriormente mi papá les va a hablar acerca de las visas E-2. Adelante, René, es un honor tenerte con nosotros el día de hoy. Silvia, si puedes activar la cámara y el audio de René, por favor.
Ya está listo.
Buenos días.
Adelante, René.
Buenos días a todos. Alejandro, can you see my, or Andrea, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, cool. Okay, bienvenidos a todos. Buenos días. Por favor, excuse me. I have prepared the slides in Spanish, pero yo hablo Spanglish, no es español, ¿verdad? So, lo siento, and please be patient as we get through this course. I'm very happy to be here this morning, so I want to give you an introduction about myself. So you know kind of a little bit of my history and what my role is here with ABC Global Group. Okay. As Andrea said, my name is Renee Waite. I have a master's in business administration. I have almost 30 years, believe it or not, with business experience, and I have been extremely focused in U.S. immigration for the past 11 years. My role with ABC Global is that I am an advisor to Francisco and his team. regarding U.S. immigration matters. I have been working now with Francisco for about 4.5 years, and we have had such a great partnership, and we have done a lot of growing and working together. I first met Francisco in the United States 4.5 years ago, and from there, our relationship began as a professional relationship, which has grown into more than that. We are close colleagues. I am very proud to call Francisco and all of his family my friend, and I'm very happy to be here with all of you today. In addition to that, just to give you a little bit of background of my legal knowledge and experience, I am a law student at the Northwestern California School of Law. I am also the owner and founder of Above and Beyond Paralegal Services here in Los Angeles. What Above and Beyond Paralegal Services does is provide paralegal services mostly to attorneys on an as needed or per diem basis. I work almost exclusively with immigration attorneys, which is how I am able to keep up with all of the rapid changes in U.S. immigration law. I do do a little bit of work in estate planning and wills and trusts and some contract work, but the majority of my focus is immigration. So I would say about 90 to 95% of what I do is dealing with U.S. immigration. I became a certified paralegal in 2011. There is no actual certification for an immigration paralegal, but I did certify as just a regular paralegal. And as I stated, I have kept my focus on U.S. immigration. So my experience with immigration began in late 2011 when I helped a friend open his law office. We learned a lot together. Through immigration, we learned a lot of hard lessons by making mistakes. So, but it was a good start to my career because since then, I have successfully filed more than 4,000 applications with USCIS. That's a lot, yes. And in addition to that, through the attorneys that I've worked with, a couple of the attorneys I've worked with have been high volume attorneys. And at one job, I managed more than 1,500 immigration court cases to help families fight deportation. I got into immigration kind of by accident. I left a very successful restaurant career after 25 years and wanted to see what I would do next. And that landed me into an immigration office. Again, where I learned and grew and have worked on in total more than 5,500 cases. So that's a little bit about me. Okay, so today's discussion, what I'm going to be talking to you about very briefly today is U.S. immigration under the Trump administration. We're going to talk about several of the changes that he made that have made it very difficult for people to immigrate to the U.S. and especially difficult for Central Americans to immigrate to the United States. I'm very excited to discuss the upcoming changes that President-elect Joe Biden has promised to make happen in immigration. We're going to talk both about his early presidency, in which he, has promised to do several things. Some of them he has promised to do on his first day in office on January 20th next year. And then we'll talk about what we can expect to see throughout the year and what we hope he will be able to accomplish by the end of 2021. Okay, and we're also going to talk about why now is the time to be excited about U.S. immigration. So if you're here on this seminar because you're interested in immigrating to the United States, either through a family member or through starting a business, or you are thinking about going into a profession or assisting people with achieving their immigration goals, to the US. We're going to talk about why now is the time to be just really super excited about immigration into the United States. As I'm sure you know, immigration has been very difficult the past 4 years. So it is nice to finally be talking to a group of professionals like yourselves about something exciting happening in immigration. Okay, so first let's talk about Donald Trump and his impact on immigration. The majority of people that are in our industry, and really even I would say the vast majority of people globally, can agree that Trump's policies have just been one of the greatest American tragedies in our history. We have never seen so much chaos. Excuse me. We have never seen so much chaos. We have never seen so much inhumane and cruel treatment towards immigrants. We have quite honestly, as someone who was born and raised here in the United States, there has been just a lot of times in the last 4 years that I have just been very discouraged with what was going on in immigration, and just sometimes downright embarrassed. So let's talk about what the past 4 years has been like under Donald Trump. So we're going to talk first about the changes that Donald Trump has implemented into U.S. immigration. So the first one has been a very public and problematic topic, and that is the border wall, his wall. I mean, you know, the wall that Mexico was going to pay for, which was just crazy, right? Reasonable people in the U.S. do not feel this way. So the wall was a big deal. The wall was expensive, and it has been very controversial all 4 years. It is obvious that he has displayed disdain and dislike and possibly even hate to immigrants from countries in Central America and in Africa in particularly. The back and forth with DACA, that was initially a full repeal, then it was a partial repeal, then it was a full repeal again, then it was a partial repeal again, then it was then it went back into law as it was intended to the craziness that it is today, which put approximately 600,000 of what we call dreamers here in the United States at risk for deportation. It's actually estimated that in the United States, there's approximately 1.5 million people actually eligible for DACA, just not everyone has applied. Also, some of the more heart-wrenching things that have happened, the separation of families at the borders. He actually lost little children in the immigration system. We hear stories all the time of children being lost. We've heard stories of children dying, and children just being left to, really to their own devices in detention centers. And believe it or not, here in the United States, children that were 2, 3, 4, and 5 were actually forced to represent themselves in court, which of course, they can't do. So immigration is here in the United States, just to help you understand why that is so sad, is that you're entitled to a lawyer in immigration proceedings, but the US government doesn't pay for it like they do in criminal cases here in the United States. So these children, not only were they ultimately deported, some of them haven't even made it back to their actual parents yet. Also, the illegal Muslim ban, that's what we call it here in the US, the Muslim ban that prevents travels from 6 countries that are heavily Muslim, and then the country of Venezuela. This, of course, has been challenged in our courts and has been ruled constitutional and within his power. But again, just going back to the inhumane immigration policies, that's just one of many. Okay. Now, you guys may or may not know that also this year, Donald Trump made immigration more restrictive, and he put a ban on several employment-based categories and the majority of family-based immigration categories. In employment-based immigration, specifically the H visas, the H-1B, the H-2As, and the L visas are completely banned until December 31st. It's unclear if he's going to extend that ban towards the end of December because he's only going to have 20 days left in office. Also, family-based immigration is the ban of family-based immigration is being challenged in our court systems now. But either way, come January 20th, hopefully, right, this will be very short-lived. He stated that he was implementing these bans as a matter of national security, stating that the COVID crisis was too much of a risk to be bringing people in, and our unemployment rate was so high that we needed to focus on employment for people here in the United States. So was he allowed to do that? Technically, yes. Should he have done it? Probably not. In addition, he's made several attempts to cancel TPS, or temporary protected status, for hundreds of thousands of Central American and African citizens that are here in the United States, that their countries were put on the TPS list due to dangerous conditions or an inability for them to accept the return of their nationals safely. So, you know, for the last about 2.5 years, people with TPS have lived on the edge and very nervous, just like DACA recipients have. Okay. The implementation of his inhumane, and very many of them are illegal, policies regarding asylum here in the United States. As you guys know, he's implemented just several things that make being granted asylum here in the United States that much more difficult. For example, he made a rule that if you pass through any other country other than your home country before you come to the United States, then you weren't eligible for asylum. You could be granted a form of relief called cancellation of removal or withholding under the Convention Against Torture. Neither one of those things lead to a green card. Neither one of those things allow people to travel outside the United States. So if you're granted withholding removal or deferral of deportation under the Convention Against Torture, you really don't have a path to anything legal. So that's problematic. In addition, as people presented themselves at the US-Mexico border, he implemented a policy that would require people, once they have checked in with Border Patrol here in the United States, to return back to Mexico and remain in Mexico to fight their case. And they would appear in makeshift courts, either in tents on the Mexican side of the border, or they would appear virtually via video conference, kind of similar to what we're doing here today. Okay. He significantly decreased the number of asylees and refugees that are permitted to enter the United States between 2017 and 2020, from 75,000 persons per year to 25,000 per year. And that is all stuff that he has done slowly but surely, with executive orders and working with the Attorney General and the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security to modify their procedures within the laws. In addition, his policies themselves have resulted in lower rates of legal immigration. So these policies have scared some people from wanting to immigrate to the United States, and some of policies just prevented others. And of course, he's done much, much more in immigration, but these are kind of the big things that have hindered the US immigration system for the past 4 years. Okay, so the good news is, is this is soon going to be over. Okay, I will be very honest with you and very heartfelt for a moment. The America that I live in right now is not the America that I was born in. It's not the America that my ancestors or our founding fathers dreamed of. So for me, the last 4 years has been very difficult. And so for Joe Biden to have won, it's a little bit more meaningful to me, this presidential election, because of what has happened. So President Biden has made some big promises, or President-elect Biden, sorry, has made some very, very, very big promises to the American people. And when I say American people, I don't just mean U.S. citizens. I mean everybody that resides here. So whether you are a U.S. citizen, you're a legal permanent resident, you have TPS, you have DACA, or you're completely undocumented in the United States, that's what I say, that I include everybody in Americans. So I can tell you that we're very excited because there's so many changes coming. And some of them are going to happen like immediately on day one. So this is really, really big news. This is big news, particularly for U.S. immigration and the people that work in immigration. And most importantly, this is big news for people like you who may want to be moved to the United States through employment-based immigration, either through investment or an employer, et cetera. Okay. So what we can expect, the early changes in immigration. So when I say early changes, I mean the first 100 days of the Biden administration. He has a lot of work to do. Immediately when he gets in there, of course, obviously he's focused on things like controlling the COVID virus, getting people back to work, our economy, and things like that. But I want to tell you right now, please don't be discouraged about the United States because of where we're at today, because where we're going to be at and the path that we're going to be placed on in just a few short weeks is a bright, beautiful future for anyone who wants to have it here in the United States. Okay, so some of the things that he has committed to happen very, very early. Actually, the first two